Before I start this video, I just want to quickly thank Badass Games for kindly letting me borrow his footage of Tomb Raider 2 to save me having to start the whole game again for the sake of recording everything, and he's helped me a lot when I got stuck on a certain level. He's a very informative Let's Player, and while he mainly does Tomb Raider games, you should check him out for some extremely useful tips as well as finding all the secrets and tricks you can use for no medpack runs. You can find him linked in the description below. It's been a while since I did my first looking back at video, but now I think it's time to do another one. This time we'll be going back to some old school Tomb Raider, specifically the second game in the series, as I just finished the campaign for the first time and wanted to give my overall thoughts on it. I listened to what you guys said after I did my initial reviews of the first 5 games, and I realized that I could have delved into the sequels a bit deeper. I was basically worn out after the first Tomb Raider and just wanted to get the sequels out of the way in preparation for the Angel of Darkness. So to make up for it, these looking back at videos for the classic Tomb Raider games will pretty much be the reviews themselves. Without further ado, let's return to Tomb Raider 2, and I've gotta say, I'm surprised as to how much I enjoyed this game more than I did with the first one. To recap on the story, many years ago there existed the mythical dagger of Zeon that when plunged into its owner's heart turns them into a fire-breathing dragon, and that's exactly what the Emperor of China at the time did to command his army. Tibetan monks fought against the Chinese for reasons that are never explained and managed to take the dagger out of the dragon, killing the Chinese emperor. The monks then put it back in its resting place, never to be seen again. That is until Lara Croft comes in because she thought it looked pretty. But it later turns out that Italian mobsters are also looking for the dagger of Zeon, and their leader, Marco Bartoli, wants to plunge the dagger into his own heart, become a dragon, and take over the world. Like the first game, the plot is very basic, but fits well with the Indiana Jones style and feel, but man can it get dark for a PS1 game. Near the end, you actually see Bartoli stab himself in the heart and watch his lifeless body get carried away by his henchmen. That's freaking grim. I thought this was supposed to be a fun adventure, not the Tomb Raider reboot. Still, the slightly darker tone is a better change than what Angel of Darkness tried to do. At least there's still some lightheartedness to Tomb Raider 2, unlike Angel of Darkness, which was trying way too hard to add serious drama. I do still wish the controls were better in the classic Tomb Raiders instead of acting like a grid and not have such a steep learning curve, but I have gotten more used to them over time and I'm fairly good with them now, save for the moments where you need to have the reflexes of a god. Thank the Lord you can save anywhere in this game. I've made 303 total saves on my profile. That just shows how paranoid I get with this kind of game. Although one of the main reasons why I prefer Tomb Raider 2 way more than Tomb Raider 1 is because of the level variety. Each stage has something different for you to do, whether it be going through an opera house, roaming the streets of Italy to kill some mobsters, riding a snowmobile to make some big jumps, or going through a portal to another dimension where statues come to life. Yeah, this level is pretty weird. To be fair though, the floating islands is one of my favorite levels in the game because of how strange it is, except for this bit in the cage that I don't think you can get through without abusing the AI's programming. And I also quite enjoy the monastery in Tibet where the monks can help you fend off against enemies, but if you attack them, then they go after you as well. I would choose to assist the monks if you can because there's a lot of them in this place. And in my original review of Tomb Raider 2, I stated that as far as I was aware, there weren't any tombs to be seen in the game. Well, as it turns out, there are a couple of tombs you go through. The Ice Palace in Tibet and the Temple of Zeon back in China, unless you also count the monastery. However, you don't get to these tombs until a few levels before the final boss, so that means you're spending about 80% of the game not in a tomb, which I don't really mind as long as we eventually get to some tombs and they have purpose. Unlike the Angel of Darkness, where the only tomb in the game held one obscura painting while the others were just sorta there. The Temple of Zeon may be the second and last tomb in the game, but damn it does it take forever to traverse. This place is massive. I think I spent close to 3 hours getting to the end. But it was worth it anyway, because once you find Bartoli's body, he transforms into a dragon and becomes the final boss, which is actually pretty incredible, I have to admit. Certainly better than Natla in the first game. I think I may have finally found purpose to exploring Lara's home as well, because it's the last level in the game, where you fend off against the remaining mobsters. A very cool idea, and it thankfully doesn't last too long. Really, the only time I wasn't having much fun with Tomb Raider 2 was during the middle. The game begins with nice, easy to follow levels for the most part, but then it starts spiraling downwards as soon as you reach the 7th level called 40 Fathoms. The instant you start the level, you're stuck in the ocean and only have limited time to find the one air pocket to breathe. These next 4 stages are all water-based and can get very confusing, and it just gets worse as you carry on, especially the second water level in the wreck of the Maria Doria. Awkward as hell jumps, puzzles that don't make any sense, and way too much block pushing. Seriously guys, f*** this level. The living quarters and the deck aren't much better, but next to Cistern in the first game, the wreck of the Maria Doria is one of my most hated levels in Tomb Raider history. However, once you slog through those parts and arrive in Tibet, that's where the game picks up again in my opinion. I've heard that a lot of people had trouble controlling the snowmobile, but honestly I didn't really struggle that much. Maybe it's because I'm playing on the Mac version and using the arrow keys, but I assume it can't be much harder with a controller. Although I didn't see much point in including a snowmobile with machine guns when it's only used in like one part in the entire game. But speaking of weapons, I do quite dig Lara's assortment of guns in this game. In fact, I don't think even the later games have this many weapons. You've of course got the dual pistols, magnums, Uzis, and the returning shotgun, but you've also got an assault rifle that's great on bosses and tougher enemies, a harpoon gun that can be used underwater but has a weaker punch, and a grenade launcher that you definitely want to save for a large group of enemies and the bosses, most certainly the living statues during the last couple of stages. That's about all I can say for Tomb Raider 2. It's a far better title than the first game from my point of view, but can I see myself replaying this anytime soon? Yeah, maybe, but not for a good few years, especially when I've got 3 more games to come back to. I think Tomb Raider 2 took me around 20 hours to finish overall, so I'm definitely taking a break for a while before I consider finishing Tomb Raider 3. I'll do my best to go through the other classic games as soon as I can, but maybe it was a good thing I didn't do all 5 games at once because I definitely would have lost my mind. There's only so much I can take when it comes to stiff platforming and a bunch of trial and error. I don't think it's necessary to increase or decrease the score in these videos anymore. I've made myself pretty clear that I like this game more than I did when I initially reviewed it. So with all said and done, I will see you guys in my next review, and have a good day.